Hey, Lions Nation! We're back with another exclusive video bringing you all the latest news about our beloved Detroit Lions. Before we get started, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss anything about the team. Now, let's get into the news. The city woke up to a new kind of thunder and realized it wasn't the sky at all. It was the collision of two edge nightmares choosing the same jersey, the same mission, the same motor. Max Crosby walked into Allen Park with that strut that says he's clocked in for a decade of chaos, and Crosby Burns followed like a gleaming blade, all angles and acceleration, a quiet grin hiding a spark that turns to fire at the snap. They didn't need an introduction. The tape had already done it. One is relentless like a storm that refuses to move off the lake. The other is a scalpel that can open any protection with one decisive slash. Detroit didn't just upgrade a position. Detroit changed the weather report for every quarterback on their schedule. Suddenly, the city's old industrial heartbeat felt synced to a new metronome. Long strides off the edge, hips dipped, hands firing, motors refusing to die, sacks rolling up like odometer digits on Woodward at midnight. The Dan Campbell era, with all its grit and kneecap mythology, just grew fangs and 8 arms. In a league that worships passing and reciting a liturgy of yards per attempt, a pair of edge demons now rewrites the liturgy with smoke and broken pockets. Because there are things you can't do when you can't breathe, and an offense that can't breathe begins to see shadows before they arrive. Brad Holmes didn't build a window. He built a sealed vault and installed a hurricane inside it. Think about what a Sunday will feel like now. Offensive coordinators mapping all week, sliding protections to one side, and discovering the other side just became a crime scene. Moving tight ends into the formation only to discover they voluntarily removed a receiving threat and still leaked pressure, leaning on quick game and watching Crosby's 6 feet 5 inches frame shrink throwing lanes into panic pump fakes, while Burns detonates the back shoulder path as if he'd studied it in a lab. Screens? Good luck when both ends can flatten, redirect, and close like shutters in a storm. Boots and rollouts? The long strides erase angles that used to be safe harbor. It's not just sacks. It's hits that land on the soul. It's the run plays that die at the point of attack because wide zone suddenly finds the edge reduced to chalk dust. It's the late third quarter when an already irritated right tackle uncurls his fingers and shakes them because they won the rep and still lost the down, because Crosby worked through one hand, Burns bent under the other, and the quarterback stepped up into interior pressure fueled by panic, by clock, by ghosts. And it's the fourth quarter when the stadium understands that the pass rush is a moral question. Will you hold the ball one more beat? Do you really want to? Lions fans have sung a lot of songs about what might be, but this is different. It's not a chant about tomorrow. It's a grammar of now. You can see it in the way opposing beat writers adjust their season previews, adding conditional clauses that didn't exist last week. You can see it in the way rookies across the division suddenly think about chip technique like a new subject in school, the stressful one with pop quizzes and bruises. Imagine the first divisional tilt at Ford Field under lights. The dome carries sound like a drum. Burns tilts his stance, weight on his front foot, and hums. Crosby stares down the line and doesn't blink. Their presence reorders the math of coverage, unlocking a playbook of coverage disguises that Aaron Glenn has kept in a glass case that reads break in case of twin terrors. You can bail the corner and rotate the safety late because the ball must come out, will come out, and if it doesn't, it's a sack or a pressure that functions as a turnover of down and distance. You can mug the A-gaps with linebackers and force protections to declare, knowing the edges are winning on B and C without help. You can green dog the back and cut off the last outlet. And on the snap you can hear a kind of popping sound, the sound of a pocket being unclipped from reality. Max Crosby brings more than moves, though the moves themselves deserve their own film festival. Inside swim after long arm bull that looks like a telephone pole has decided to walk. Stutter to swipe that makes a veteran tackle reshuffle his life choices. A cross chop sold with shoulders and violence. The second effort that plays like he's destroying a treadmill, never slowing, never acknowledging fatigue is a concept that applies to him. He plays anger like a violin. There's no freelancing, no hero ball that fractures contain. It is disciplined menace, the kind of edge who knows that the final 3 steps of a rush can be more important than the first 3, and who will beat you in both places anyway, just to be generous. Burns answers with biomechanics that look improbable on paper. That outside foot plants and the hips hinge into an angle that seems illegal in certain provinces. He can race to 10 yards depth in 2.5 heartbeats and still flatten without drift. The ghost move appears, tackle punches at vapor, and Burns is on the corner like a rumor that doesn't need evidence. He can sell upfield, then jab step inside like a point guard, cross your face, and reappear near the quarterback's throwing hand like a jump cut nobody else saw. When they twist, it isn't ornamental. It's like two fighter jets switching altitude mid-flight without losing speed. Pick your poison? This is a tasting menu of nightmares. Prefix, no substitutions. They'll say, can two alpha pass rushers share the oxygen? The answer is simple. They don't require the same oxygen. Crosby thrives in the furnace of constant work, each snap a vow. Burns thrives in geometry, where steps are syllables and bend is grammar. Together they create weather patterns that cancel each other's storms in the only way that benefits Detroit. The turbulence stays outside the defense and inside the opponent's skull. Edge tandems from history flicker to mind like an old reel, names whispered when weather changes in January. But this is Detroit's film now. The Motor City has spent a lifetime building things out of parts and steel and sweat. This is simply the newest assembly line, this time for third and long outcomes. The complementary fits ripple inward. Alan McNeil sees more single blocks. Rotational pieces collect cleanup sacks and look suddenly like headline makers. Linebackers step downhill and run fits because the edge set is surgical, compressing lanes into manageable shapes. Nickel corners jump routes because the clock inside the quarterback's helmet is screaming and the ball arrives a beat too early or a beat too desperate. Campbell's press conference cadence, half preacher, half foreman, now has a different subtext. He talks about violence within the rules, about turning Sunday into a place where men in the other locker room reconsider their assumptions about comfort. He talks about habits, about how pass rush isn't a mood but a schedule. He talks about trust, about two stars who work like undrafted kids and hold each other to that standard. You can imagine the first week of camp when Crosby finishes a rep, beats a chip plus a punch, and still chases the play 20 yards downfield on a scramble drill. Burns watches, nods, and in the next period, erases a jet sweep by beating the crack and slipping the TE, tagging up with a slap that echoes, and neither one says much. It's the grammar of work. Great teams share grammar before they share trophies. Opponents will try to scheme it away. Max protect? You've removed targets and narrowed the field into zones that Aaron Glenn can flood with bodies. And if your two receivers don't immediately win, Crosby's long arm just collapsed your posture. Quick game and slants. Curl flat trap and robber rotations thrive when the ball lacks air. Want to run right at it. Crosby is too strong at the hands to be moved by a tight end and too stubborn to be washed by a tackle's down block. Burns is too slippery to secure with angles that look tidy in the playbook and blurry in life. Want to screen them? Burn after catch. They both retrace like they study the art. Want to go tempo? They live in tempo. Stamina is not a threat, it's an invitation. Football simplifies when the edges refuse to be reduced, and that's the part that breaks spirits mid-season, when injuries accumulate, and the sound of pass rush becomes a constant hum behind the play-by-play. On Mondays, advanced metrics will sing. Pressure rate rises like a tide. EPA per dropback sinks like a stone. Third and 8 becomes a staging ground for despair. 2-minute drills transform from hope to hazard. And because pressure compresses decision trees, turnovers stop being lucky bounces and start being routine harvests. Tipped balls, punched throws, strip sacks that turn the stadium into a choir. If you listen closely after the whistle, you can hear defensive backs laughing the small laugh of comrades who were finally given a gift, time. It turns out coverage is easier when the quarterback never sees the second hitch, when the second read is a rumor, when throwing lanes are all closing doors. There's an emotional weight to this, too. Detroit knows what it means to wait. The city has done it with dignity and noise, with parade plans kept in the junk drawer just in case. Aiden Hutchinson was the first drumbeat of the modern march, a homegrown hymn. Adding this duo isn't just about terror for the opponent. It's permission for the faithful to expect more than good stories and moral victories. It's a handshake with history, a signal to the future that the window isn't a fragile thing but a reinforced frame. Children will learn new favorite numbers because the guys wearing them arrive in nightmares that become posters. Old heads will point to the line of scrimmage and say that's where honest work lives, and they'll be right. There's poetry in the way a pass rush changes body language. Opposing quarterbacks who were all chirp in warm-ups become quiet in the second quarter, talk to themselves a bit between plays, pull grass from their face mask, glance toward the sideline with that look that means call something fast, coach, anything fast. Opposing tackles beg for a chip and still get forklifted by one, bent by the other. And then, sometimes, they win a rep and still lose the down, because the clock and the coverage and the cumulative hits make every pocket a memory palace of bad moments. Before we move on, take a second to drop a like and subscribe. That way, you'll stay up to date with every exclusive Lions update, and you'll even have a chance to win an official Detroit Lions jersey. Let's keep going. Personnel groupings will become little puzzles that Glenn can solve with a smirk. Base. Walk Burns up as a wide 9 and crash Crosby tight with a firm edge, slant the front, and spill the run to a waiting linebacker. 11 personnel. Dime it. Rotate late. Sugared A-gaps force 5-on-5. And if you're 5-on-5 against this, you're not 5, you're 4.5. Sprint out. The long chase angles turn the sideline into a dead end. Deep play action shot. That double move needs air, and Detroit just vacuumed the room. Bootleg throwback. Crosby stays home like a bouncer at last call. The details matter because championships are built out of details that keep repeating under stress. The best part is what it does for January. Cold weather doesn't slow speed. It preserves it, makes it shine. Outdoor venues that thought they were safe behind crowd and gust and pressure systems will learn that manufactured chaos thrives even when breath shows in clouds. Indoors, it becomes science fiction, the snap sounding like a trigger. And because the Lions' offense already knows how to possess the ball, the defense won't need to play 65 snaps of pure chase. They'll play 48 snaps of curated violence, every rush a high-value event. It changes how you draft, how you manage veterans, how you plan for attrition. It changes how you call the middle 8 minutes around halftime, because 2 extra possessions behind this kind of rush feel like compound interest. You can close your eyes and see signature moments forming. A primetime game, ball on the opponent's 19, down 4, 37 seconds left, no timeouts, and the other sideline looks across and sees both edges standing in 2-point stances like coiled wire. First down. Crosby collapses the right side. Quarterback climbs and sees nothing, throws it away with his feet parallel, boos snow down. Second down. Burns times the snap, dips, rakes the ball from the blind side. The stadium goes silent for a half-breath that explodes into blue thunder as the fumble pinballs and is swallowed by a diving safety who holds the ball like it is a child. But the flag? It stays in the pocket because everything was clean, just physics and will. And there's another one. Later that season, a playoff afternoon when an MVP candidate tries to buy time to his left and finds Burns mirroring like a shadow that knows his thoughts while Crosby reverses course. Long strides drinking yardage. The two meet at a precise angle that steals the yard line. The ball pops. The replay angles become art, and the lower bowl becomes a single voice. Leadership travels on strange roads, and both of these men carry it differently but arrive in the same place. Crosby is volume and example, a metronome of reps that refuses to tick any slower. Burns is calculation and calm, flash made dependable by routine. Watch the meeting room the Wednesday after a win. One corrects a hand placement for a rookie with a demonstration instead of a lecture. The other points to the wrist of a tackle and explains why he knew the strike was coming late. They compare notes on cadence tells like detectives compare handwriting, then go back to the field and build drills out of clues. It's glamorous work only in the highlights. In life it is painstaking, dirty, obsessive. The best duos live in that space. Obsession with detail that turns into theater on Sunday. And beyond the tactics and the tape, there's the city, the whole reason. Parking lots filling early, grills alive, blue jerseys heavy on shoulders, kids on their parents' necks to see over the wave of bodies. Inside, the anthem ends, heads tilt up, and you can feel it. The hum, the pre-snap hush that isn't silent at all but electric. The ball moves, and the edges move faster. Someone in the first row says there it is, and it's not even a sack yet. It's the angle, the posture, the inevitability. Football can be cruel, but inevitability is kindness to the faithful. For years, Detroit has seen inevitability wear other colors. Today, inevitability wears Honolulu blue and white, and it arrives off the edge with hands like vices and feet like drumlights. If you're an NFC North rival, you are already figuring out who chips and who releases, whether to teach the back a new path that blunts the angle or to live with a slower exit. You're drilling hot routes and practicing quick game until the quarterback's wrist is sore. You're telling your young tackles to keep their base and not to panic on the first move because the second move is the one that kills, but your voice trembles a little because you've watched the film and you know that the second move comes whether they panic or not. You're thinking about max protect and realizing you're conceding that you must play small on the biggest downs of the game. You're rewriting your red zone menu because the condensed field turns edge pressure into a vice that squeezes both sideline and end line. You are, quietly, a little jealous because players like this don't just win reps, they change organizational posture. They are culture accelerants. They are Sunday certainties in a league that sells uncertainty by the ton. Detroit, a city that understands building and rebuilding, now wears a defense built to dismantle. The beauty is in the simplicity. It doesn't require exoticism every snap. It requires honesty, repetition, and a refusal to be moved. With Crosby and Burns, every standard rush becomes an exotic problem for the offense. Every exotic pressure becomes a blade with two edges. Every game plan the opponent scripts on Wednesday becomes a series of edits by Sunday afternoon, sharply through concepts that felt brave in the quiet of a meeting room and felt foolish in the noise of reality. And through it all, the two new architects of discomfort will jog back to the huddle, uncork a small nod, and get ready to do it again without theater, because the theater is already happening all around them. There will be records whispered about by mid-season, not the hollow ones but the ones that live in context, team marks for pressures, sequences of games with multiple sacks, fourth-quarter leads protected by a pass rush that feeds on urgency. There will be young defenders playing faster than their scouting reports ever allowed because life is easier when chaos is ordered in front of you. There will be offensive lines that arrive in Detroit with bravado and leave with taped jobs and long flights of silence. And somewhere in December, when the lights take longer to arrive and the air bites, Ford Field will glow like its own small sun, warming a city that understands what it means to wait and what it means to work and what it means, finally, to have truth show up wrapped in speed and violence and craft. So when you hear it, the new sound downtown, know it's not just a stadium thing. It's the future retuning its instrument, and the song it's about to play is written in edge, pressure, and finish, and the kind of relentless belief you can't fake. Max Crosby and Brian Burns in the same huddle isn't just a headline. It's a permanent change in how Detroit lives on Sundays. Somewhere a quarterback closes his eyes and counts to two, because 3 is a luxury now, and across the line, 2 men smile the kind of small smile that belongs to people who know they've turned inevitability into their job description. Detroit has asked for a long time. This is the answer with shoulder pads on. We bring you the latest Lions news every single day. So make sure you're subscribed, hit that like button, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a thing. And of course, drop a comment below with your thoughts on today's news. Your voice makes a difference for Lions Nation. See you in the next video.